My name is Stephen and this is my channel, Heart's Delight Exports. Welcome back to Heart's Delight Exports. It's time for another video, and today I'm going to be fixing this. At one point in the summer I started fixing things and making things better for both kids, but one of the things I had to make do with was this doorknob. These doorknobs are very specific. They're meant to be either a left or a right doorknob. This one is meant to come along, put your hand down, and it opens. And it mostly works. Even though this is supposed to be on the right hand side, this door handle is actually upside down. So it actually opens easier when you lift up on it. Which means it's not opening properly when it should open. So one thing I had done a little while back is go out and get a better doorknob. This one will work much better for what we need here, but like I said, there's some issues. The fact that this is an older door means that the hardware has been replaced a few times. Doesn't sound like much until we get into it and I show you where the actual problem is. So first thing I'm going to have to do, besides taking all the hardware out of the package here, is to get the old doorknob off. First thing I want to do with the new doorknob is to check to see if this latch is actually going to fit. It should go in there like a glove, no problem at all. Got some wiggle room. Right here is one of the important parts. One of the most important parts, really. You're looking to make sure that the end of your latch doesn't end up out here in the door somewhere. That would mean that you have the wrong size latch. And seeing most of this is MDF or sawdust and glue and pressure, you don't want to be drilling into it a lot. That's part of what the problem for me is right now, that this door's been reused a couple of times and the latch hole has been dug out a bit. And if I can show you, you can see that the hole goes right through the MDF, comes out the other side, and the plate here has been broken several times trying to put screws in. There's only a very small amount of solid wood here on this side, and I'm not entirely sure that my plan to fix this is actually going to work, because it looks entirely too much like too much wood has been taken out. Now the purpose of the hole back here is that at some point somebody took a longer latch plate and put it in the hole. Somebody had found that they needed the latch plate to extend into the end of the door a little bit, and in order to accomplish that they put a bit of an extra hole in there. So the next thing is to see if I can drill out a couple of holes here where the latch plate is to, and see if I can glue in some new wood that will hopefully work for the latch plate screws. It's kind of what I was afraid of. The one bit of solid wood that's right here on the plate of the door has been damaged to the point that I'm not sure that I can do anything with that. And of course the MDF behind it is completely useless to secure anything into this way. So I'm going to have to take a moment and see what I can come up with to fix this problem. So I've actually got several options here on what I can do next. Now these doors are not constructed very strongly. There's basically a frame around the outside edges that amounts to what you see on these edges. So all the way around there's a frame, but it's only an inch or so thick. After that there's some cardboard dividers that kind of support the inner frame, and the rest of this is molded MDF for the outer skins. There is an indentation as you can see to make these panels, but that's totally MDF molded to that shape. So what do they do for this area, for the doorknob? Well, that one is actually fairly interesting. I've taken apart several of these doors now over the years, and usually what the case is that on the frame here you'll see a piece of MDF that comes down and is basically less than the size of my hand, right inside the frame. It's glued to the inner and outer skin, so both sides of the door are glued to it, and it's glued to the face frame here. And for the most part that's good enough. That gives all the strength you need for one of these doors, for the handle, and it's good enough for privacy. It's not going to stop an intruder for very long, but that's not really the point of these doors anyway. They're internal doors. They're mostly for privacy. So what are my options? Well, one option is to actually split the skin, because it's only glued, even though it's a very seamless looking joint. The skin is actually only as thick as what you can see, these little white lines here. That's about all the skin is on this. And actually, if I could get the camera right, you can actually see it on the doorknob side, how thick the skin is. It's only about 1/8 of an inch. So I could split the skins open, and I could take out the block that's in there of MDF and glue in a piece of 2x4 or something, a piece of MDF if I had it downstairs, and replace it all together. That wouldn't fix this problem though. It will give me something more to screw into behind it, but this problem is mostly this piece of face framing right here, the one piece of solid wood on this end of the door. Another thing I could do, I could take my chisel and maybe a jigsaw, and I could cut out this whole square, and I could glue in a new block right there that's nice and tightly fitted, and would replace this chunk of wood altogether. I'd have to then drill a new hole for the latch here, but I'd have 2 new holes to be able to drill the latch plate into. But the third option is really what I'm intent on going with at the moment, and I'm hoping it will work out. I got the 2 holes here are my problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a drill with a bit that's almost the right size. This one is a brad point bit, so it's got a nice little point to it. That means it shouldn't wander off target very easily. And I'm going to open up those 2 holes, and I'm going to take a piece of dowel, like I said earlier, and I'm going to try to glue that into it. The other drill bit I was using the point with a little earlier is a little bigger, and if I got to, I'll open up the hole a little bit more in order to try to get that dowel in there. But one of the problems, I'm not sure if you can quite pick it out, is that this frame is starting to crack. It's the problem with retrofitting old doors and trying to use old stuff this way. There's only so much life in them, and at a certain point this door is going to get beyond repair. But right now it's time to see if I can keep it going just a little bit longer. So I have my little piece here wedging the two dowels in place. They seem to be making good contact. So now all I can do is leave it to dry. I have my two little dowels glued in place now, and I took a much smaller drill bit on my drill and I drilled out pilot holes for the latch screws. Now my concern at this point, I've already had one little mishap with this. As I was drilling the pilot hole, the glue hadn't set up enough and the drill bit actually hooked into the dowel just enough to spin the dowel and pull it right out of the hole. I can't say it was exactly unexpected. I only have 3/4 of the hole to put the dowel into. The bottom part of it on the latch hole side is completely gone. But the next part is to start installing things, and that's fairly simple. The latch goes on and you have to make sure that the angled piece is going to be facing the door, so as the door closes it would push this in, and as soon as it's in the hole it'll pop out, and the flat back side is what actually keeps the door from opening when you don't want it to. So the next part is to take the whole latch assembly, fit it in here, and screw it into place. Has two of these little screws with it, and I've already tested one out to make sure that it'll not split the wood. All I need is for it to be reasonably tight, held in place. Now I need to take the handle apart, put it through in the right way so the outside is on the outside and the inside's on the inside, kind of thing. One thing that does matter, you see 3 points here. This one is for the locking mechanism. These two are what's going to screw it together. But this needs to go through. Can you see where the screw holes are? The lock goes through the center, and then you have the screw holes on either side. That is important. You don't want to tighten up too much on either side until you have it nearly done. You can almost see the little ring around the bottom of the door here where past doorknobs have been put in place. You want to keep checking to make sure that your door is still working. There are possibilities for things to come out of alignment or not be in the right way so that the latch won't actually won't actually flip back and forth the way it's supposed to. So as it is now, we have a working doorknob. And one of the things you want to make sure of is that the latch plate is indented into the wood. This is important. It mightn't seem like much, but it's an important detail that can cause your door to not close properly if some part of this latch is out farther than it should be. As it is, this outside corner is out a little bit. You can feel the difference. It unlocks properly, opens properly. So the only thing I have left to do is to switch over a new kick plate or new latch plate here. So that's another project for Hindrance Exports. I hope you enjoyed watching me arsing around with changing out a doorknob, but I do hope you've gained a little bit of knowledge and information from it. I'll see you next time I'm in the shop or working on something of interest to you, and I hope you're having a good day.